personal growth to business solutions, there is no limit to what you can imagine. It's time to reimagine banking. Centenary Bank, our bank.
Hello and thank you for joining us for News Bulletin with me, Tandy Wenzamara. Let's have a look at the top stories. Pope Francis to travel to Lisbon and Fatima for World Youth Day in August. Government geared to improve Malawi's economy. Malawi Communications Regulatory Authority MAGRA cites vandalism as one of the major factors affecting the implementation of the national addressing system. And in international news, Sudanese war triggers grave consequences for region and beyond. We do have the details to these stories and more. Do stay with us. The Vatican has announced that Pope Francis will travel to Lisbon, Portugal for World Youth Day this August with a visit to the shrine of Our Lady of Fatima. The Holy Father is said to participate in World Youth Day from the 2nd to the 16th of August and is scheduled to visit Fatima on August 5th. The Lisbon trip will mark the 86-year-old Pope's 4th World Youth Day after taking part in the international Catholic gatherings in Panama, Poland, and Brazil. We have more details in this Catholic News Agency report read by Bridget Manoga.
World Youth Day was established by Pope John Paul II in 1985. The week-long celebration usually attracts hundreds of thousands of young people across the world. The event is typically held on a different continent every 3 years with the presence of the Pope. The Vatican previously announced that World Youth Day would be postponed by 1 year due to COVID-19 pandemic. Lisbon, the capital and largest city in Portugal, is about 75 miles from Fatima, one of the most visited Marian pilgrimage sites in the world, where the Virgin Mary appeared to 3 shepherd children in 1917. The theme of Lisbon's World Youth Day, which will take place on August 1st to 6th, is Mary arose and went with haste. Pope Francis sent a video message to the teens and young adults preparing to attend this year's World Youth Day earlier this month. In his message, the Holy Father expressed that to participate in World Youth Day is something beautiful, urging them to prepare themselves with enthusiasm and to have hope because one grows a lot at such an event.
State President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera has reiterated that his government is keen to restore livelihoods of people affected by the recent tropical cyclone Freddy and also boost private sector productivity in order for Malawi to attain sustained and inclusive economic growth. The Malawi leader was speaking earlier today during the Malawi Investment Forum 2023 edition at Bingo International Conference Center in Lilongwe. The summit aimed at establishing how government, industry and investors can work in tandem to build Malawi's business community and grow its economy in a sustainable manner, among others. We have more details on this report filed by Herbert Katanda.
Making a keynote address at the 2023 edition of Malawi Investment, President Chakwera repeatedly stated that the only way out of the country's persisting economic challenges is to increase private sector productivity because it is a primary domain where a strong and healthy nation creates jobs and worthy. Nonetheless, the president, for the umpteenth time, lamented 2 obstacles that continue to haunt his government, citing governance dysfunction in public institutions and external shocks. He said for decades, most public institutions have not efficiently executed their stipulated noble tasks due to corruption, political sabotage, institutional petty fights, and incompetence, among others.
We are so resolved and resilient in our quest for economic growth through the private sector investment that in the midst of these attacks, we have fully restored the power plant we lost last year, as the Minister of Energy will soon attest, and we have embarked on the pursuit of winter cropping and mega farms to stay on course with our desire to create wealth, create jobs, and achieve food security. So it gives me pleasure to invite you once again to make Malawi the home of your investment.
Malawi, just like other global economies, desperately needs increased foreign direct investment inflows, which is a key macroeconomic variable for creating jobs, boosting domestic revenue through tax generation, as well as boosting the growth of an economy through increased gross domestic product. The country has faced a number of setbacks from recent crises and is currently subject to the devastating impacts of Tropical Cyclone Freddy. COVID-19 drove growth down from 5.4% in 2019 to 0.9% the following year.
Hearing to decide constitutionality of fate of the LGBTQI Community Acts in Malawi has been shifted to the 5th and 6th of June this year. The adjournment, by the way of notice, comes following the constitutional proceedings on the matter that were scheduled for Tuesday, where a Dutch national and another are challenging the penal code dictates that criminalizes the act. Robert Edward has more details.
The challenge by the Dutch national is to deconstitutionalize sections 153 and 156 of the country's penal code, which criminalizes same-sex marriages. The foreign national, Jan Willem Axter, is being accused of sodomizing boys and trafficking girls in a constitutional matter being presided over by 3 High Court judges. However, speaking at a press conference in Blantyre, child rights activists, including Memory Chisenga, want the Axter, who runs a bursary, prosecuted for the suspected crimes that victimized children and girls who were beneficiaries of his bursaries but were allegedly being sodomized in the process, especially the boys. Major religious associations, including Episcopal Conference of Malawi, Evangelical Association of Malawi, and Kadria Muslim Association of Malawi, among others, have strongly condemned the act and urged government not to tolerate the demonic malpractice, which they argue it goes against nature and it is a sin before God. Some citizens have even questioned the proceedings, saying it is just a waste of court's time. For Luntha, this is Robert Edward.
The Malawi Communications Regulatory Authority, MACRA, has pointed at vandalism as one of the major challenges affecting the implementation of the national addressing system. According to the Director General of the Regulatory Authority, Daud Suleiman, people need to understand that this is vital to the nation and for the citizenry, just as any other development project is, and that there is a need to take care of the set and equipment built in that regard. Suleiman, who was speaking during a press briefing in Lilongwe, said they are currently looking at and reviewing the Communications Act to help the public understand that physical infrastructure amongst the critical national infrastructure and that vandalism is calls for maximum punishment. Jacqueline Saidi has more details.
The Malawi Communications Regulatory Authority Director General has said the National Addressing System, NAS, whose main objective is to develop and implement a comprehensive national addressing and postcode system, is progressing, although it is facing challenges of funding, as MACRA is the only financier for the project, and vandalism. Speaking in an interview following a press briefing, Suleiman said vandalism of these structures, which already has been an issue during the pilot phase, is pushing the development backwards and has affected the progress that was anticipated to be achieved.
So funding has been one of the key issues. And the secondary is the issue of vandalism. Vandalism of this infrastructure not only costs us a lot of money, but it also brings the nation backward. Because the infrastructure that is being installed in all these districts is infrastructure for the nation. It is infrastructure that is facilitating for the development and building of the digital economy. Therefore, the more we vandalize infrastructure that has been installed, the more we are taking this nation backward. So we are appealing to Malawians to treat the national addressing system infrastructure as critical infrastructure.
Currently, a majority of roads and buildings have been named in the northern region where the pilot phase of the project was being implemented. MACRA will be extending the rollout of the NAS to district councils in the central and southern regions, including other areas missed in the four major cities of Blantyre, Zomba, Lilongwe, and Mzuzu.
So as we speak, we have started engaging the central region district authorities as well as the southern region district authorities. This is an ongoing project. It has started, I think, about 4 or 5 years ago, but now we are pushing that by the end of the next financial year, we should get all the districts in the country, at least all the bomas must have the physical infrastructure installed, that whenever you go to any district in Malawi, at the boma, you should be able to find every road named and every building, you should have a number.
The National Addressing System, according to the Director General, is a framework that will be providing the naming of streets and property and coding to facilitate easy identification and location of places critical to transforming the economy of the nation. For Luntha Tv News, this is Jacqueline Saidi.
You're still watching news, and do stay tuned for more right after this short break.
From personal growth to business solutions, there is no limit to what you can imagine. It's time to reimagine banking. Centenary Bank, our bank.
Welcome back. Before we proceed with the news, let's have another look at the headlines. Pope Francis to travel to Lisbon and Fatima for World Youth Day in August. Government geared to improve Malawi's economy. Malawi Communications Regulatory Authority MACRA cites vandalism as one of the major factors affecting the implementation of the national addressing system. And in international news, Sudanese war triggers grave consequences for region and beyond. Proceeding with the news, the Ministry of Health says they are optimistic that they will surpass the 9 million children target for the integrated mass immunization campaign against typhoid, polio, measles, and rubella. Acting Deputy Director for Preventive Health Services responsible for health education services in the ministry, Mavuto Thomas, has told us that they also announced the number of children they managed to vaccinate, but they have started a mobile exercise to cover all the gaps which are there. However, Thomas said the numbers from selected districts are promising, giving hope that they will surpass their initial target of 9 million children. Rachel Manoka has more details.
The typhoid vaccination campaign follows a successful malaria vaccine campaign which the government is implementing in partnership with PATH and other partners. The campaign ran from 15th to 21st May 2023, targeting children from 9 months to 14 years. A 2-year study of the vaccine, the first in Africa, found it safe to use the effectiveness in more than 80% of recipients. Healthy authorities say the vaccine is expected to reduce the threat from a disease that kills close to 20,000 people in sub-Saharan Africa each year. According to Thomasy, the ministry is upbeat they will surpass the 9 million children target for the integrated mass immunization campaign against typhoid, polio, measles, and rubella. He said the country has been experiencing sporadic typhoid fever outbreaks and an increase in surgical complications related to typhoid disease. He further elaborated that primary prevention through vaccination is a game changer because high antibiotic resistance continues to make it difficult to treat typhoid effectively. Thomasy said children who missed the current exercise due to various reasons will be reached during a mop-up 3-day campaign which starts today. The mop-up follows an evaluation of the initial campaign. Bridget Mwanoka, for Luntha News.
Now, in other news, a fragile 1-week ceasefire in Sudan appears to be in jeopardy as artillery fire continues to resound in parts of Khartoum where armored vehicles patrol the streets and warplanes fly overhead. The ceasefire deal between Sudan's warring military factions raised hopes for pause in a war that has already killed over 850 people, driven over 1 million from their homes, and threatens to destabilize the entire East African region. We have more details in this Vatican News report read by Vincent Kwagwala.
Tuesday, 23 May, marked the first full day of the ceasefire reached in Jeddah, which is being monitored by Saudi Arabia and the United States of America, and is meant to allow for the full delivery of humanitarian relief following the outbreak of crashes 5 weeks ago. Speaking to Vatican Radio, Marco Darido, Director and Analyst in charge of African Desk and the Russia and Balkans Desk Center for International Studies, explained the current stalemate between the warring forces and highlighted the far-reaching effects of war in the Sudan could have on Africa and beyond. He noted that there is no mutual trust between the rapid support forces and the government in Khartoum and its armed forces. Hence, both sides are trying to take advantage of any distraction to at least gain tactical advantage. Asked whether the United Nations or any other international interposition forces could play a role in bringing peace, Derido expressed his opinion that the UN could push two sides to sit at a negotiating table or at least to agree to respect measures that would protect security and lives of non-combatants. However, the analyst highlighted that Sudan represents a high-risk scenario at the moment with high levels of violence that would deter countries or coalitions from committing to enter that theater. Meanwhile, with over 1 million people fleeing the violence, the whole region is destabilized, and Derido observed that the profound effects of this would only become evident in the future, as right now most Sudanese are moving within Sudanese territory.
The Vatican News report read by Vincent Kwagwala also brings us to the end of what we had for you in this edition of our news bulletin. But before we leave, a reminder of our top stories. Pope Francis to travel to Lisbon and Fatima for World Youth Day in August. Government geared to improve Malawi's economy. Malawi Communications Regulatory Authority MACRA cites vandalism as one of the major factors affecting the implementation of the national addressing system. And in international news, Sudanese war triggers grave consequences for region and beyond. You've been with me, Tandu M. Zamara. Thank you so much for keeping me company, and to continue following the rest of our programs right here on Luntha TV. Goodbye for now, and do stay safe.